when the cars fly. Ain't nothing really hitting like it used to. Gas wake the neighbors up like a rooster. It's a booster, help me see the future. I believe in karma and Karma Sutra, so let's do some.
I can't do it. Okay. We'll do it live.
Okay. No.
We'll do it live. Fuck it. Do it live. I'll write it and we'll do it live.
Right.
Fucking thing sucks.
In 5, 4, 3.
Hello, everybody. So I've got Parker here. Parker, are you with us?
I'm here.
All right, beautiful. So, guys, we are going to get into James Jimmy Boots Rothstein, the Honorable Mayor. We've got quite a bit to get through, so I'm going to go ahead and run the intro, and let's get ready to debunk the debunkers. Yeah? Don't forget, we are out here fighting demons, y'all. So, Parker, is there anything you'd like to say before we get the PowerPoint rolling?
Hello, that's all.
All right, cool. We're not ignoring the chat, guys. And if I, see anything, or Parker, if you see anything in the chat, just let me
Mhm.
know. But let's go ahead and get this PowerPoint going. Uno momento. There we go. So, I guess before I do this really quick, guys, this is to obviously refute the smear campaign that has been attempted previously and is going on right now in regards to James Jimmy Boots Rothstein. Um, you know, Parker's going to have more to offer here because Parker knows Boots. I don't. I respect him. I respect his work. And I think that it's very important, but she has a, personal knowledge of him. So she's going to be able to give us different insight. Just so you guys know.
Yeah.
So there is Mr. James Jimmy Boots Rothstein. And I'm just going to click through a little bit. Go ahead.
Yeah. Mr. Jimmy Boots, honorable mayor, our beloved all-around hero. This man is loved among victims. He's going to be 84 years old this January. And I really feel like, tearing him down is, it's pretty upsetting. It's pretty upsetting how the whole thing has been set up, and sort of the sequestering nature of what's going on around Jim right now, which to me feels like exploitation. I could be wrong, but anyway, he's a very wonderful fellow. You can just have a really wonderful conversation with this guy. He's very down to earth. He shares everything that he knows, everything that he's been through. He's very relatable. He's very open. He's just a great guy, and he's so based. I mean, he is right on top of all the. And like I'm saying, I mean, he's going to be 84 this year. I have noticed where his memory of dates and maybe names is a little blurred at times, but you have to remember that, he is up in age, and he is also battling a condition with his lungs due to some chemicals that he was exposed to when he was in the Navy. And he's having a real hard time breathing. Sometimes when I call him, he would be like, I can't breathe today, or he might be able to do like a 10-minute conversation, and then it's like, gotta go because I just can't breathe. But he grew up there in St. Martin, Minnesota, grew up speaking German. He said his grandfather was the smartest man he would ever know. He's of the Catholic faith. But he realized that the church is a virtual cult and controlled all aspects of life in the small town and surrounding community. And, kind of in that same vein, Jim has always been a nonconformist, and his family seems to have fostered this. His grandfather told him, "You must go to high school, learn to read, write, do mathematics, and learn how to use a typewriter. And once you've done all that, get the hell out of there." So, they're not really into conventional, well, I've been saying a lot lately with the people in my life that sometimes feels a lot like indoctrination. But anyway, he graduated high school in 1959. He went into the Navy aviation program, and he went active duty in 1960. He was on the USS Essex, which cruised the North Atlantic and Europe. They were hunting Russian subs. The USS Essex was there in the Bay of Pigs, and Jim has thoughts on JFK based on the fact that they were told to stop firing. Jim he manned the winch that received many cargo nets full of dead servicemen. So he has some very strong feelings about that. He had some exposure at that time to Frank Sturgis, who was who comes up in the JFK scheme, was one of the leaders of the revolution. He was a CIA operative. I actually know another CIA operative that was kind of in that same role.
That's him right there with Castro.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And Frank Sturgis. I mean, one thing that you hear from Manny is that it's not possible for Jim to have been present in all of these different, close to all of these different events. That's just not true. Anyway, Frank Sturgis came up at that time, and he comes up again later in New York City. And none of this is a stretch. There's nothing dishonest here.
No, and also I just wanna point out really quick,
Mhm.
in regards to the arrest of Frank Sturgis, Marita Lorenz, the woman that, Rosenthal and Rothstein saved,
Yeah.
literally, like, she's right there. There's multiple books out there about her story, and I think that there's a
Yeah.
documentary about it. She says she was recruited by the CIA to kill Castro, but she fell in love with him. So,
Mhm.
none of this is a stretch. This is his
Mhm.
resume. Is it
Mhm.
stellar? Yes.
Mhm.
Based? Yes. However, it's not a stretch. Go ahead.
Yeah. So anyway, as I alluded to before, a very key feature of his time on the USS Essex is that he inhaled chemicals, and it made it difficult for him to breathe at that time, but has kind of increased as he has gotten older. But anyway, he did his couple of years in the Navy. He left, came back home, went to work for Chase Manhattan Bank for a few years, and then on a drinking bet, he joined the NYPD. He and a drinking buddy were, betting who could score the highest on a walk-in, testing for the NYPD. So that's how he ended up joining, and he was sworn in February 1965. He was assigned to the 16th precinct on the west side in Manhattan. He was known as Boots because he always wore black cowboy boots.
I love that.
Yeah. Um, but in his time, working with the NYPD, he was with the NYPD for 15 years. In that time, I was telling you about some of these things. He was attempted to be framed, he was bribed, he was threatened to be killed by his own bosses in the NYPD.
Oh,
He was
you telling me that the NYPD is corrupt?
not at all. Um, he was, of course, promoted. He was asked to come back to the Navy as a commanding officer. He was asked to work for the mob. He was offered $1 million by Bronfman to drop an investigation. He witnessed his superiors shredding reports. It's another thing that we don't know nothing about. Um, at some point, he faced the decision. Well, I guess maybe the anyway, the decision to not roll over and not go along with a cover up. Um, he decided to stand up and fight for some of these cases that were very controversial. They really did a lot of things to try to get him to shut up. They even went to his wife and tried to get his wife to testify against him. They ordered him into rehab. They just tried all of these tactics to try to compromise him or make him less credible. So standing up is what he always did, and um, it just doesn't necessarily serve a man right when he does that. It's kind of the luck of the draw. There were many attempts made on his life. Um, at some point, he was given a desk job to try to kind of keep him away from the movers and shakers. But anyway, let's look at in the spreadsheet here. Oh, okay. So I was saying, at some point he was transferred to the Central Park precinct, and he was given a desk job, but he was out with a lieutenant at some point and observed uh, CIA operative Len Stewart, who's a name that some people may recognize, going into the Brambles with 2 male children. The Brambles is an area of Central Park in the 70s, in the high 70s, that is also known as the Ramble. But the Brambles is a section of the Ramble where pedophiles will go and they'll take children there to like rape and molest them. So Jim, when he was already relegated to a desk job, observes Len Stewart going into the Brambles with 2 male children. And when he went to act on this, they kind of like cracked down on him. That was in 1976. He still served another 4 years after that, but a lot of things happened after that. And he was recruited at some point into the New York State Select Committee on Crime. For whatever reason, that was shut down unexpectedly. So he and Mattie Rosenthal, who was a longtime partner of his in the NYPD, they had to go back to the police department. Jim's house was broken into and documents were stolen. I had mentioned they tried to get his wife to testify against him. He was offered a promotion to, kind of dismiss all of these cases that he was working on. He always told his superiors like to shove it up their ass. I mean, he didn't back down. Anyway, one of the last things that happened is that in 1976, he runs into Frank Sturgis again, and he and Mattie Rosenthal, his partner, arrest Frank Sturgis. And Frank Sturgis turned around and sued them both, plus the city of New York, for $16 million for making a false arrest. And so this is kind of a turning point where, then there was a trial. He, had to testify. His life was an attempt made on his life while he was testifying. I think he went like one day to make some testimony. They tried to kill him that night. They had to sequester him so that he could go and deliver some more of his testimony. But the judge actually called him into chambers and offered him a deal. So, this is kind of how things were going toward the end of his career with the NYPD. And at some point they just said, like, listen, you're going to apply for disability and be fully retired or else. So he went ahead and did that, and he left the force in March of 1980. And he says he didn't know the magnitude of his investigations and what they had uncovered until after he retired. At the time, the scope of these investigations was beyond his comprehension. The cover-ups reached the highest levels of our government, society, the church, business. So it's just something that kind of settled with him after he left. But here we have his, well, do we want to say any more about his time as mayor?
So I'm gonna, if it's okay with you, I'll pull up some of the other slides that we have.
Yeah.
This is just, again, a refresher. I also think it's very interesting that he was running investigations about, rapes that were happening in the Columbia area. And again, keep in mind, guys, these timelines, because it has been stated on some of the debunkers channels that Mr. Boots was not an active officer was not involved in any investigations during the time of the Son of Sam. I'm really sorry that people can't read. It's really unfortunate. Here's a reminder: New York City Detective James Rothstein, and again, Willie Dunn Jr. In return for cooperation in a bizarre sex case involving children, he offered Dunn federal witness protection. Okay, so it's not that hard to confirm these things. I'm not attacking or judging anyone in the chat. I'm just saying, right here, Berkowitz questioning refused. I don't know why people feel the insistence to lie about things that are very easily provable. And again, right here about Willie Dunn. Now, these are some articles that I found when I was trying to see if there was any sort of recent information about Boots, and I'm going to be adding these links into the video description afterwards. But this was published in March of 2016, detailing what he has been involved in, and that yes, he was the mayor. Yes, he's also he's still involved. The last thing that I found where his name was listed was from 2022 in regards to legislation for human trafficking to
Yeah.
protect victims.
I think in that same year, I know of a firsthand situation. I mean, or I know firsthand of a situation where he was trying to move someone out of or assist someone in escaping a trafficking situation, a situation of captivity, I should say. And I know about that firsthand. So yeah, and people call him. People really rely on him.
And this one right here, this article from 2018, so that photo was one of the first slides, but right there, James Boots Rothstein, a colorful native of St. Martin who has been mayor since 2002. This isn't a conspiracy theory. This isn't QAnon. I don't know why people try to paint him like this. You ready for me to go to the next one?
Yeah, sure. I mean, it's because to give this man credibility gives the whole everything that he brings to the table gives that credibility, and they can't let that happen.
Yeah, absolutely. And Miami Virtue asked an interesting question about the Bronfmans. Yes, it's the same family as Nexium. It's also the same family relation to Charlene Cafferts, who, in my opinion, was just another victim of the Manson crimes. She was just another sort of outside casualty of that. But yes, I mean, do people think that this individual would be placed in or revered by locals, by victims? I just exactly, it lends such credibility to what he says, and everybody's so hell bent on discrediting Maury that they have to take down Boots with him.
Sure. Yeah. So I did make some slides of his and just kind of like put it in front of you, because again, the dissenting voices out there will say that there's no proof, there's no nothing. Well, this isn't necessarily proof, but here are some timelines. Here are some, tangible things that you can look into. Let me kind of follow along with you. Lots of different. The thing is, he did a lot when he was in for the 15 years, but he did a lot after that too. Like after he left, just because he left the NYPD didn't mean that he stopped doing all these things. And if anything, he kind of took all of his training and continued that. There are some special assignments here on the next slide.
Oh, I think I might have. Oh, wait, there we go.
So he was on that select committee that didn't last for very long, but I was surprised to see this item where he He worked with the Internal Revenue Service. Actually, there's another one, but yeah, he worked with the Internal Revenue Service to kind of, shut down. I just want to say this really quick. So I work with, and I've mentioned this before. I work with this small group of guys, really young guys, actually. We track predators online, people that are either pimping their kids out or they're trafficking children. Anyway, um, this really needs to be also tracked and monitored and shut down on the IRS level. A lot of different effort would have to go into shutting these organizations down. So I was surprised to see that one. But anyway, he's got one here on special assignments. University of 8th Avenue, graduate with a doctorate of the rules of 8th Avenue and street smarts. 8th Avenue is a really gritty avenue. I mean, I was there in the really pretty era where, and I think it's kind of declined again now, but when crime was really at an all-time low, and when it was just safe to walk around at all hours of the night and day, but still 8th Avenue would be very gritty. The merchants on that strip are kind of like, that's where you're going to find all the kink stores and just a variety of things like that. So that kind of resonates with me when he says University of 8th Avenue, but that's where that was his beat when he was working the pimps and prostitutes. At some point, I do hope that his book will be, I mean, if I have a chance, I will ask him if it can be put out there on more of a public, release or whatever. But he does describe like how he even garnered that area, that assignment of working with prostitutes. But anyway, very interesting. And I did know that he was very knowledgeable about Promise software. I didn't know why until I got to looking into these special projects. But and the OKC bombing. Of course, he is he's of the Catholic faith, so the whole thing with sex abuse in the Catholic Church is very, very raw topic for him. And then on the next slide, we have some acknowledgments in books, and I'm sure that this is just a small snippet of the books that he's been mentioned in. But Marita Lorenz actually has a book. Anyway, so good little selection there of books.
You know what's interesting that I didn't notice until just now?
Hmm.
The Oklahoma City bombing and the politics of terror. Look who the publisher is.
I
Pharaoh
know.
House.
I know. I saw that and I was like, no, don't tell me. No.
That's okay. That's all right. All right, I'm going to stop sharing this for just a second, guys. That way I can kind of get my ducks in a row as far as where we are at with the rest of the presentation. All right, so let me see. All right, so now what we're going to get into, and that way you guys just kind of understand the flow of things. Parker's going to where the process comes into this. We're going to look at her research and then just a real quick glance at mine. But I just wanted to get this organized because then we're going to, yeah, all right, then we're going to do a brief overview of that documentary and then we're going to get into the debunking. So let me get this pulled up. And obviously, we are respecting people's anonymity here. We're not putting anyone in danger. If anyone is familiar with any of this information, please, just out of respect for everybody, keep it to yourself. But let me go ahead and get this pulled back up. And Parker, you have the floor. Tell me when you want me to hit the next slide.
Well, we were talking again. This is a recurring thing that comes up about how there are a lot of us. I don't even want to really put myself in the arena. I mean, I got a lot of my finds from this person that I'm going to kind of review right here. Um, but anyway, just to say, like, we all research, we all have, those of us that do research the process, we research the process and we don't know about the other people. I didn't know you. You didn't know this researcher that Jim was using. Um, I didn't know anything about Ed Sanders having a private eye that was uncovering all these things. I mean, it's just there are many. First of all, there's just a lot to know. There's a lot to know out there. Some people will tell you that information on the process is very scarce and it's very, we don't know very much about them. That's really not true at all. If you just are willing to put in the time, there's all kinds of things. And I'm even going to show you one of the websites that I have gotten a lot of my information from. It's harder to find their websites because of the way, they're not going to name them like the process per se, but, if you just put in the time. But this person, Jim's I'm calling them Jim's process researcher, but they were on to the process a long time before they ever approached Jim. I mean, he didn't like kick it off. They came to Jim in the early 2000s. They had been embedded in the compound at Kanab, Utah. They saw and experienced the cult firsthand, the condition of the animals, which was not good. The mind control, the financial aspects, the compound itself. So much to know about each one of these points, right? The cover up. And I don't know if maybe I should talk a little bit more about this, but the conditions for the animals are not very good. This researcher noticed that just a lot of the animals are abused. I mean, their coats are matted. They're not fed properly. They're not sheltered properly. Animals are killed. I know in our little research group, even somebody said recently, I think it was in our little research group, that this is a kill shelter, and it is. It is a kill shelter. But anyway. The financial aspects being that they are really focused on membership more than taking the funds and allocating them toward, rescues and taking care, frankly, of the animals that they have there on site. The compound is large. You've talked about this already. What is it, like 5,000 acres? What is
I
it?
mean, they got a, contract with the local government to do like an entire sort of they had this whole thing passed where it was almost like HUD, but it was just for BFAS. Like it's the BFAS HUD. I mean, these people are incredibly plugged in.
I mean, they do ask their volunteers to come and basically work for nothing. It's a very remote area. There's not a lot of places to live, and then the cost of living is not really conducive to. They don't pay very much. I mean, so I don't know if it was more like trying to provide their employees or their staff with affordable. I'm not sure, but anyway. This particular researcher was talking about how you can really get stuck there. Like if you become dissatisfied, and they do pull all these kind of cult mind control tactics on you. Like if you need to be punished for some reason, they're gonna, put you on a shift that you hate, or they're gonna take you away from a job that you really love. They do really put the grips on you, and you're not really in a position where you can leave. But anyway, and the cover up, just meaning, like we were looking at actually when Lucian and who was his buddy? they interviewed Michael Mountain.
Hmm.
Who was that? I've got that pulled up
William
somewhere.
Morrison?
Is Echo Cat in the house?
I don't think so.
Anyway, they interviewed. They went to great lengths to get an interview, but they've got like one voice. That's Michael Mountain. He's kind of the guy that controls. He controls the whole PR thing. Like if anybody wants to approach them to ask any questions or whatever, you got to go through. You got to go through many layers, and then you're going to get to talk to Michael Mountain. And the cover up of like who they are. This researcher was also saying that they denied for the longest time that they were even that they even had been the process until she got their incorporation papers. Like she proved it, to them, and they had to admit it. They had to fess up. So big old cover up there. But yeah. So this researcher was embedded and then left, but still has very close ties with the people that they were there with. So they still can, get. And actually, I don't know if this person is still living anymore. I had asked Jim, and he had not heard from them in a really long time. So, I hope that they are doing well. But if they're just out there and just being very quiet, it makes perfect sense to me. But they were able to tell us things like when Maury reported that Father Raphael had died in 2003 of a single car accident, another one of those, right?
Mm-hmm.
That information came from this researcher, as Maury and Jim were in touch at that time. This researcher also has corroborated a lot of the information that's out there on the vaults, like the FBI vault in particular, where there's a member of actually one of the elders' wives that went to the FBI. She got really fed up about something that happened there, went to the FBI, made a big stink. There was an investigation. There's not much out there on the FBI vault. A lot of those records were destroyed, but this researcher was able to flesh that out for us and tell us like what happened there. So what she had the entire scheme of elders mapped out with all their incorporations, their movement, their specific addresses. She had a very extensive list of neo-processians. This is something that you've begun to talk about a little bit more, and I hope you will keep on. Because that's really where it's at now. It's like that is the neo-processians are the ones that are carrying this movement forward.
Absolutely. And the temple. Dougie, Lucian, I'm looking at you.
And it's so much more pervasive than you would ever know. Okay, so they had a short list of websites that were run by processians at that time, and I'm going to show one of those here in a moment. I've talked a lot about the Desolation 23 website as well. That's another one that was run by Father Malachi. But anyway, they had a little list of websites that were run by processians, which is amazing information. This one that I'm going to show you, there's just a wealth of information there. And this researcher was covert, not necessarily for their own safety, but just out of concern for the welfare of the animals and the staff that were still there at Angel Canyon. But they mapped out the why of the process, and that is like the biggest thing. You can know about the process, who they are, what they look like, all about their publications and all of their stuff. But why? Why? It stems from the web of elite globalists. It belongs to a lower echelon clique of power within the secret government. It's convoluted and sophisticated. It is New Age meets DARPA and US intelligence. They use NGOs. I don't know if you've noticed, but NGOs now are used for writing policy into law. I mean, it's like they've found a way to sidestep the government, when it comes to like our governmental branches that used to make the laws are being sidestepped now by the NGOs, and that's what they do. They use this like some of the ones that they had mentioned were Audubon Society, Greenpeace. I think Greenpeace is full of spies, or I don't even know if Greenpeace is still around, but in this era when this researcher was like releasing their information, Greenpeace, World Wildlife Federation, and it really is a transhumanist, futurist agenda.
Yeah, I mean, that tracks with William Sims Bainbridge, he's kind of the biggest name as far as the actual, core group, I would say, of the process. And, you guys, I'm going to show you something today that I haven't shown on a live before, some new information about one of the founders. But the further back that we're digging into these people, this is literally the most elite cult in the world that I've ever heard of, that I've ever studied. It's honestly just kind of ridiculous at this point. They are a bunch of elitists. They're not atheists out here LARPing as anything. I think that people should take them very seriously about what they say and what their beliefs are, and the firm belief that humanity is the devil.
And I actually missed this one on the slide there. I mean, they do utilize New Age, Satanism, Gnosticism, self-realization, ascension, all of these spiritual movements that are out there. They are utilizing these things to further the transhumanist agenda. And they do want UFO disclosure on the president's desk. And you know what? I mean, they they've had it a few times. But players, the next one. Echo Cat has kind of got me looking at 23.
I know. Me too.
He's right.
Yeah, no, he is. He is. He's got a big brain on that boy.
No, look out for 23. 23 and Me, is an obvious one, but did you know that I didn't know this. Did you know that the Temple of Psychic Youth requested that they called it a sigil. They were asking young men to make a sigil with their ejaculate on a piece of paper and mail this in to the Temple of Psychic Youth headquarters. And 23 is the theme to this. And when I heard that, I was like, "Oh my God, this is like it's collecting DNA, and the 23 is still there."
It's ridiculous.
Blew my mind. Anyway, I just people like if you're I think people on your channel are pretty good. They're going to know a lot more about this than most, but if you're not onto all of this futurism, transhumanism, please look into it, cuz this is what's going on. But
I would take
anyway,
a screenshot of this slide, guys. That's what I would do, because
mhm,
in this as well, we're seeing a lot of, space stuff, things like that.
mhm,
And keep in mind, the root of the process is Scientology. Keep
mm.
that in mind. That's always in the background. I
Think
think
about
that,
that.
in my opinion, I feel like when you're looking at the process, the default should be Scientology's in the background, right? And so also like the galactic religion, that kind of tracks with L. Ron Hubbard and the
Mhm,
Galactic Federation. So,
mhm, mhm. No, think about this. It's deep. I mean, and this isn't Son of Sam right now. This is like what's happening right now. But yeah, we got some names here. Just look into some of these things. Just some names to get you started. Of course, like I said, I know a lot of people here will know, but Esalen, um, Jim Channon comes direct. Was he a founder of Esalen? I think. The first Earth Battalion. If you have not seen that, go out there and find it. Maybe Dana, I could even give you a link to that. I think it's an active link. I don't think that it's out there on the way back, but First Earth Battalion is going to blow your mind. Silicon Valley is it's all about all the. It's almost like Silicon Valley exists for these initiatives, going on all over the place there. But NASA, U.S. Army Southern Command. I hate to say it, but that's the truth. Major General Albert Stubblebine, he's dead now. He was the former director of the Army Intelligence Security Command, was just an organizer of all of these entities. Commander C.B. Scott James, I don't know if he's still alive, but wrote the Sustainable Peace and Development. I think that's a treaty, or it might just be sustainable peace and development. But anytime you hear that word sustainable, it's kind of a red flag.
It's a Tavistock word.
Yeah. Senator Claiborne Pell, he's dead. Barbara Marx Hubbard was a futurist author. It's another way that they push these agendas. Well, look at this next one here. Colonel John Alexander, Neurolinguistic Programming, Techniques to Modify Behavior Patterns.
Yeah, there's a lot of problems with NLP that I will unfortunately be discussing here soon. So,
Cool.
yeah.
Yeah. So, of course, Michael Aquino is in there.
Chubby Count Chocula.
And William Sims Bainbridge. You really cannot find anything about him anymore. You got to go out there on the way back. The way back, whatever it is or isn't, archive.org, whatever it is or isn't. I know it's got some problems, but it's almost like the only outlet for certain information at this point.
Correct.
So if you're going to find anything on Bainbridge, you're probably going to find it on the way back, because the active internet is cleaned of him. And so getting back to the process members, this website, it's the Gnostic Liberation Front. There's a lot of information about the founding members, and a lot of you're going to see some like areas where people could comment and ask questions. I think in one of my videos, I used a question that was asked about their prison outreach. I got that from here. There is like a little area where people could submit questions or whatever, but lots of information here. Probably testimonies of 6 or 8 different founding members, or old members anyway. Mostly founding members. I'm not going to say like Malachi or, Wiley, but they would describe them on this website, so you would see that. And so
You're ready to get into the process?
Yeah. The next slides are this is kind of what I had when we met, so to speak, which was just at the beginning of this year. Seems like a long time ago, but it was only at the beginning of this year. And I had been working on this list for a long time. Like I said, after I got acquainted with Jim and he shared some of his information with me, then I got to know his researcher. I got some of their leads, which were huge. But I just wanted to show this to say, like, not to prop myself, but just to say there is lots of information to be had. You got to dig in. And Dana, I just appreciate you. I say this to you all the time, that no one has put it out there like you have. No one's even come close. So
Well,
really got.
I appreciate that.
It's
I don't know about all that, but thank you. So, I want to show you guys because that's Parker's notes, right? So, for anybody who's paying attention to the timeline or who has been here, Parker and I were introduced essentially via William Ramsey's what is that called? What is his paid service? What's your
Patreon.
Thank you. So that was kind of where we actually, I think, first talked in the comments on his Patreon. And she's right. We haven't known each other that long. I didn't know who she was. No clue. So I'm going to show you guys just two things very briefly to show that this information, all these different parties, including Jim's process researcher, the research that Jim did, the research that Maury did, the research that Ed did, the research that Parker did. These are all people doing this independently and
Mhm.
coming to the same conclusions. And I think that that speaks volumes. The one thing I'm going to show you guys, just because it's the easiest way to look at it really quick, is just my DeGrimston map. Really, let's pull it up right here. So, just because now that I have these mind maps, I'm like, I'm not going to have to deal with, the stupid PowerPoints. But like,
I
this
love
was all.
these.
Thank you. I like them too. I mean, they're certainly much cleaner, but I had already found these people, right? So I already had this information. I was already fleshing out Robert's family himself right there. I had pulled these things from Ancestry. So that's one example. Now, another example is going to be, and this will be the last thing I think, is because this is pinned at my Twitter, on the top of my Twitter, and it'll always be there. And I did it on Halloween on purpose. Who is the Process Church of the Final Judgment, aka the Best Friends Animal Society, and did they really go to Utah? And there's them mocking everybody, saying we're an animal sanctuary, right? So that's all of us figuring this out on our own. And she's right. Parker's absolutely right. This takes patience, it takes time because these people have operated successfully in the shadows for so long. But that doesn't mean that it's impossible. And I think that so many different parties not knowing each other and drawing their like the same conclusion or similar conclusions where the facts are matching up, the things that we can verify. Why are people so hell bent on discrediting certain parties when that's just not bore out by the facts? It seems like what Jim's process researcher alluded to, which is a cover up. Now, Parker, what I would like to do is just go ahead and show the 3 slides from the documentary, and
Mhm.
then we're going to get into the debunking, and we'll
Mhm.
have a little palate cleanser with that. Does that sound good?
The fun part.
Yes, the fun part. So, I'm going to show you guys very briefly 3 slides. I forgot that this was sent to me. And when I found it, I was like, oh, damn, I messed up. I should have sent this out a long time ago. So this is from 2017. Not going to sit here and read everything, but this is something that Rothstein was involved in. I don't know. I have a good idea of what happened, and eventually I'm going to come on and talk about it. I don't know what happened to this documentary, but it has essentially disappeared. But let's go ahead and just take a quick glance. And I know when I showed Parker, she hadn't heard of it.
Nope.
Nate hadn't heard of it. So this was going to be The Son of Sam Reloaded. 2017 marks the 40th, 48th, I can't read that, anniversary of the murder spree that scared the hell out of New York City. Now we will uncover the real story, and it is much more terrifying. Berkowitz was just a foot soldier for a sinister satanic cult, and here is the log line and introduction. And right here, it says the Process Church of the Final Judgment, an apocalyptic sect hell bent on bringing about the end times. And let's go to the next one. And right here, this is a list of the series goals: disproving the lone gunman theory, establishing the wider conspiracy, working towards identifying at least 50% of the cult called the 22 Disciples of Hell, identifying the cult hierarchy, and investigating allegations of the involvement with the Process Church. And right here, I think this is fascinating. An eyewitness told the NYPD that they saw Berkowitz entering the Process Church 2 days before he was arrested. How involved was the process, and what ties do they have to the 22 disciples? Most members left NYC after the murders, changed their names, and headed west, where the Process Church became Best Friends Animal Sanctuary in Utah. Now, I don't have the recording of this preview. I wish that I did, because I remember when I watched it, it really spooked me out. And Rothstein is in it, and I have a much longer PDF breakdown of the series, and you can see him in there. But they're on the ground in Utah, in Kanab, interviewing locals, interviewing police, working with lawyers, other private eyes, and I just don't understand the whole information obfuscation game that is going on here. I mean, I understand it. I would just like for somebody to give me an honest answer, right? Because we haven't gotten one yet.
Yeah, I mean, have you I don't know, it's kind of a long thing to sit and go through their reviews on TripAdvisor, but I'll tell you what, those are pretty edifying if you have the time. It's funny how, some people, I think locals have to remain silent, uh, for whatever reason, variety of reasons, but yeah, people passing through. It's really interesting when you get the take on what's going on there.
And in that preview, that was something that, a woman that they had interviewed, they made it pretty clear that if you call the police, you are not viewed favorably as a
Mhm.
local trying to cause trouble for Best Friends.
Right.
And I just think that that tracks with any sort of, high power control group like this. And obviously, like if they're not doing anything wrong, what is there to hide,
Mhm.
right? It's very unfortunate that this did not make it to the next step, because I think that it would have been really fascinating, and I think that people deserve to see whatever has been made. If you guys want to release it, I know that you won't. But let's go ahead and let's get this palate cleanser going, because it's time to debunk the debunkers.
Come on, dance a little bit.
I can't dance on camera.
Yeah.
Hell yeah, Bobby Shmurda. Hell yeah, that's what's up, someone that you know who that is. So,
That is too good.
just a laugh, just a little reprieve. And now it's time to get into, and I guess we'll just kind of both chime in as we go. And some
Mhm.
of these memes, well, one of the first meme was contributed by a friend of the channel. So I did go ahead and censor it just a little bit, but
It's amazing. It's my favorite. But you would have to have seen, Manny's, which, let's just be real, I mean, he doesn't have, near the views that you have, so some people might be thinking like, "What?" But, it's Manny was saying that the whole while that they were investigating things in Yonkers, Neo was saying, "But where's the butt fucking?"
All right, so this was where you and I were challenged, allegedly, supposedly.
Was that
I
last Sunday night?
huh?
Yeah, that was sorry, last Sunday night, right?
Was it last Sunday?
I'm not sure. That was one of the most fun times. We had such a good time. Anyway, I didn't want to interrupt you. Go ahead.
No, we really did. Okay, so we are being a little bit petty because, so this was first up Manny G and his research team calling out Manny G. Uh, that that was, I don't know if it was really calling them out, but we noted how many people were viewing it at that time because our little group, we were having a watch party and we were laughing. But someone right here had popped in because Miss Urena made a claim. She likes to call me Mrs. Doodah. Well, she made a claim that I had been deleting things and they were challenging me to come into their chat and debate them to refute them. I was blocked.
Mhm.
So someone over here said, zero integrity here when at rottingjewels is blocked from this chat, passing the message along. Leash lied about me, and I've asked questions and got deflection, killing it with 18 viewers.
Mhm.
Okay, so I don't I don't really know what to tell you guys for anybody that watched that. Yeah, I haven't deleted anything. For those that don't understand how YouTube works on my end, if I block you from my channel, that's automatically going to remove any comments that you've made. It's not me deleting things. There is a difference. Reina did admit after this was pointed out that I actually had been blocked the entire time and they had been streaming for
Mhm.
40 minutes, as you can
Mhm.
see here. So it's really easy to sit there and challenge somebody to a debate and say that they're
Mhm.
being a coward when you have them blocked.
Yeah. Yeah, and at some point they were saying like, are we questioning are well, to us, the audience, are they were saying to us, "Are you questioning our credibility?" And it's like, "Yes, we are. We
Yeah.
are saying your show has no credibility." You're sitting there, and I think that is reflected in their lack of subs, by the way. But yeah, sitting there telling people, come on, and and debate me, and show me where I'm wrong, and show me. Meanwhile, you're blocked. And Tom Dexter tried to comment; he was blocked. But yeah, she definitely
So did
admitted that she had you blocked.
Nate was blocked too, remember?
I mean, I'm sure that just goes without saying.
I know, but the fact that they kept challenging people that were blocked and then
Hmm.
like, "Oh, they're cowards.
Hmm.
Oh,
Hmm.
like, come and
Hmm.
debate me. I'm a big meatball."
Hmm.
Like, shut
Hmm.
up. Just get with the program. If you want people to come and debate you, unblock people.
That's really really sad, isn't it? That's really
Yeah,
sad. And
it's
they
par for
are
the course.
but I wanna go back to, I mean, we had such a good time, and that was 5 of us that were viewing, so this 15 views here, we were 1/3 of their audience.
You're welcome. You're welcome,
We were
everybody.
laughing it up, we were, going back and forth. I know I was laughing so hard that I, spit my drink out a couple of times. It was really a good time. One of the best times we've had in a while.
Oh, yeah, it was a blast, and, if you guys did not catch that show, then you'll have no idea what this is referencing, but the individual using the moniker of Dirk Diggler,
Mhm.
they and I'm just gonna be petty here for a second, they said that Jim Jones was at Waco. 'Kay? So, this is why I put a young Jim Jones in front of the Waco siege. I'm not gonna take a pair of pennies from a group that can't identify that Jim Jones was definitely not at Waco, okay?
Right.
It's completely preposterous. So, I hope that you guys take a screenshot and send it to your friend, and I hope that your friend is
Mhm.
embarrassed, because I was embarrassed for you guys, but I
Mhm.
also lost my mind laughing. So, let's go
Mhm.
ahead and go on to the next one. Oh, I'm gonna I'm gonna address this one first. So, because they talk about me a lot, I don't know who the Joel Call 72 is, but Thank you guys for watching. Thank you for being a fan. Neo says, pathetic disgrace again. To take any of you serious would be really stupid of me. And then he says, 3 fucking hours. And Joe Call right here saying, yeah, that's everybody's gripe with me, that I say yeah a lot. I'm a hillbilly in the woods. I don't know what to tell you guys. But this just shows that they did watch the show because they are a fan.
I didn't even notice that. I think that that's endearing the way that you say. That's like it's just a Dana-ism.
I guess
Anyway.
so. All right, you want to take this?
Well, the show, and I do want to comment about a couple of things that were said. But yeah, in the comments, it did spawn like a whole a whole dumpster fire that went on for days. A whole dumpster fire of infighting and backbiting between Neo and Joe Catalano, and Wheat was in there holding court, and okay, I'll come back to the other things about the show later, but Joe Catalano, now, okay, I'm not a fan of Joe Catalano. I think I've already made that clear. In fact, going back to like my time in the official Facebook group, I did think that he was the mole for Manny, and I remember telling the admins, and they were like, "Oh no, couldn't be Joe. We've known him forever." John Catalano. Couldn't be him. We've known him forever. We've been friends forever. And I'm like, okay, whatever. But he okay. So, and going to the time when Manny had his subscribe star, John Catalano was in there. Neo came in at some point. Neo was kind of like behind the scenes and couldn't be identified for a while. But then all of a sudden he was kind of made, public, or at least going by Neo. He wasn't known as Paul. I remember when people started to discover his true name, then he got all upset. Yet, people point fingers in the other direction. But anyway, in this whole time frame, Neo was he was out there interviewing people. He went to the candlelight. He interviewed the owner. Came back and said like, nope, nothing ever happened there. I talked to them. Nothing ever happened. The whole thing was made up. Whatever. John Catalano actually knows witnesses. If I'm not mistaken, people that were there or know people that were there when this incident happened in the Son of Sam era at the Candlelight Inn. So,
oh, look who just showed up, Neo. He said to drop a link, cowards. Neo, I don't want
no.
you on my channel, but thank you for asking.
But I'm bringing all
Continue.
of this up because John and Neo do not agree. They have lots of reasons not to agree. But here's John. John comes into the chat from this show last Sunday night or whenever it was, basically being really congratulatory. Hey, read your book, really enjoyed it, whatever. Is kind of, extending an olive branch. And Neo just goes full on petty on him. So anyway, that's what happened here.
All right, let's keep going. Neo, I'm not a dirtbag. You're a dirtbag. Grow a set. Moving on. And we don't have to sit here and read everything. This is just to highlight some things here specifically,
Yeah, going back and forth. John says, I'm not going to do to you what you do to Manny Grossman, minimize his enormous contribution. Now that's crazy. Okay.
Well, what about this? The childish name calling. Neo, isn't that what you're doing right now?
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
And here, this whole like satanic pedophiles, all this nonsense, right? So let's go ahead and let's just keep rolling.
Yeah.
Oh,
So,
here's Wheat holding court. Would you like to
right.
highlight this?
Well, we entered the comment section and basically gave, answers and comments to every single aspect that was discussed. Yeah, I just got to say it right now. Some of the things that she said were pretty fair, like when she called Rena a mean girl.
Oh,
That's probably here.
Let's find it here. Where is it?
A little bit later.
Hold on. This is no, we're out of order. That's not
It's
gonna be
okay.
here. Yeah.
It's okay. She's telling people to stop acting like third graders, which they should. And
I
this
think that
one.
this involving the vindication of the cars.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, she's saying to Neo, can you take the time to explain exactly what Manny lied about? And then she's saying that brings your work into question, by you, not him. Neo, everything, the world, the world really revolves around Neo. If I did not get involved, your family would never have been vindicated. Grossman is a conspirator and would have been blaming your family for decades more. That's not true. That is one point that I wanted to cover. Neo said in that live that, what did he say? That when he left, he said when he left Manny still had the cult theory, and that is not true. I mean, Neo, we were there, number one, and we got screenshots. I'm sure a lot of us have screenshots to prove it. So Neo just lies. Everything is because of him. Nothing could have happened without him. There was nothing until it was, until he was there.
Oh, it's that unwarranted sense of self-confidence.
And even he says Grossman went the lone shooter route just to screw him over. Like that's how important Neo is.
Well, it's interesting that he likes to sit here and demand attention like a petulant child, insisting that I'm going to drop a link. Also, because this was an open invite, bud. But also, sitting here criticizing other people's research. I didn't edit any documents. Did you edit documents, Parker?
No.
Okay, let's move along. All right, so Joe Berlinger, thoughts?
Well, and I just want to say, because that was a significant part of the discussion in that live. I mean, whether it's a police report or not a police report, how is that any different? Anyway, the argument is that Maury edited documents. Okay, you can't have a conversation with these people. But yeah, I wanted to point out how, like Manny will say something and then Rena will kind of mirror it. Maybe not right away, but a little while later. Manny posted about, is it Joe Berlinger or Berlinger? Anyway, and here she is posting. And this really happens like more often than not. In the next example, you've got him talking about the satanic panic. And you basically got her. Okay, I realize the satanic panic is something that's talked about, but it's just she does seem to follow his lead.
Yeah, it's again, I would say a lot of softballs that were being thrown, and it seems like a lot more in common than what they like to present to the public. Now, in regards to, well, no, we'll talk about the Berlinger stuff later, but let's go ahead and pull this up since oh look, Rena's here. Okay, so right here, even though he deleted this comment, hey Dana, you are not a researcher. You are a lying, pathetic, crybaby, coward, hypocrite. You know what that reminds me of? Is this is just a side note. Sean Patrick Palmer, the alleged satanic temple bomber, where he was like, crybaby Satan. He had to go and get crybaby Satan. I have begged all of you lying hacks to face me, but you all prefer to run your lying mouths. So easy on this computer to be someone you are not. Your work is complete garbage and you are a fool. Bring your self-proclaimed shit researcher Parker with you if you have any dignity. Watch what idiots I will make you both look. Screenshot this for your creeps. Okay. I'm not coming onto you guys' show, Raina. I'm going to let you guys know right now. I'm not coming on to either of y'all. I don't want anything to do with you guys. I think that you guys are trash. I don't need to ignore you. You guys have refuted nothing. You guys name call. And quite frankly, you guys just want views, and I'm not going to give it to you.
They do. Well, I want to address this though about coming on or about showing our research. I mean, look, where have you been, first of all? And as far as explaining it to you, no, I'm not going to explain it to you. I'm done trying to explain anything to you. They can't follow along. It's like I tell you to name some serial killers that used a gun that didn't have any personal contact. I was making an observation about David. Using a gun and not making any personal contact, that does not match the psychology that they then try to apply to him of this, person that was a lunatic, that was obsessed with hurting women and all this other bullshit, right? But anyway, I tell you to name serial killers that simply used a gun and walked away. And then Rena comes back with Eileen Wuornos. For fuck's sake. I mean, someone that had sex with her victims before shooting them. Like, you can't... It's stupid on steroids. It's not my job to fix that, and I can only explain it to you. I can't understand it for you.
Yeah. So, in regards to this was a comment. I just remembered a question regarding radical media. This was after that stream. Yet again, we've known about this. We've known for time about this production company. This is what they do. We just don't feel the need to run to our laptops and announce. No one cares. I'm gonna clarify something because it's easy to say, like, yeah, everybody just watches what we do. Well, when things change and facts, quote unquote, change, there was nobody in that chat that named radical media. You know what that tells me? You a fan, you a fan, you a fan. Because I was the
Absolutely.
one that did that stream breaking down all of that. I was the one who brought that up. And you guys are literally running to your laptops announcing your presence in my chat. Okay? So, selling stickers like a dope and you call grifter dirtbag. Okay, well, sorry that your book isn't doing so hot, Neo. Not my problem. So this was what you were talking about with wheat and the mean girl comments.
Yeah. Rena Rena didn't touch that one. And she's all up in Wheat's anyway.
Allowing her to hold court, right? So let's go ahead and continue. And right here, all I hear is noise coming from people who call themselves researchers. Having a highlighter, newspapers, and books doesn't make you a researcher. Try going outside your house, away from your computer. Show me who has done that for this case, right? All a bunch of liars looking for attention, biggest hypocrites anyone could imagine. Anyone don't like what I say, come on the show. Had more than enough of the fake people involved in this. If you don't think I'm going to expose you by the time I'm done, keep lying and you will see. Best bet, come on the show with your garbage and try and make me eat my words. Here's the best thing ever. I like to 8 Mile myself, so all of my dirt is already out there. Good luck. Have fun. Okay, go for it. I don't give a damn.
So, by the way, it's just the same comment over and over from Neo, but Neo says book is doing excellent. What do you two idiots have?
I don't.
You want me to
I don't
write a
need to.
book? I'd be happy to write a book. I
I
mean,
don't need to. My
actually,
research is
Neo,
up here.
who wrote your book, Neo? You didn't write your book. We can tell from your comments section you didn't write that book. Who wrote your book?
I mean, somebody might have helped him. Who knows if they get butterfingers when they're mad, right? So, and then we have Mr. Paul Hartburger. I would love if people would use the correct name, since people don't like to. Paul Hartburger, right?
Yeah. What upsets me about this is just when people are all like, he was feeling this way. He had, you could tell that his internal rage was building. He had urges to harm his half sister and his mom. He crossed the Rubicon with those knife attacks. He couldn't go back. They don't know anything about this man, and none of us know. I mean, that would be like me coming on here and saying that I know how Rena or Neo thinks. I don't, and I couldn't possibly, and I don't want to, by the way. But it's just, you get this over and over and over again. And again, I was illustrating with the comment about the guns. You guys try to apply this psychopathic, lunatic, need to kill that David had. It does not match the crimes.
Well, Not only that, let's keep in mind, because I've been very vocal about my feelings about the FBI and John Douglas. This is straight Criminal Minds bullshit.
Mm.
Okay, this is the nonsense that is perpetrated by the FBI, and I know for a fact from my personal interactions with Paul Hartburger that he's much smarter than this. So
Mm.
this doesn't really track with me. But let's go ahead and continue. And no, guys, no, I'm not a coward. Neither is Parker. We owe you guys nothing. And I don't give a damn if you dropped a StreamYard link. Don't care. I don't want to go on your show. It's not going to happen. Okay? Continue.
So this is from Neo to Wheat. This surprised me, but this is again kind of the same tactic that Zeman uses, where he's going to say, oh no, I really respected Maury, and Maury was great, and blah blah blah, and then meanwhile, well, every other sentence actually, it's going to be, some attacking language. There was a lot of that in that stream, whenever it was, but here again, he puts up this comment that's so respectful sounding. I do believe he died thinking your brother was involved, and that proves to me his intent. Two sides. Oh, but this is surprising. Two sides. When I first started to talk to these people and law enforcement, one was Maury's cult. The other was just plain accomplices. No way he did all these things alone, is what every single person said. Is that what every single person said? No way did he do this thing alone? Anyway, I'm sorry. I said I was going to read the whole. They're going to
That's
start
okay.
reading the whole comments. I can't speak for Maury, but I do believe he died thinking your brother was involved, and that proves to me his intent. In Yonkers, there were two sides. When I first started talk to the people in law enforcement, one was the Maury cult, the other was just plain accomplices. No way he did all these things alone, is what every single person said. Press and media spun the accomplice story first through their misconception of the letters they were reading by Berkowitz. Maury came across a lot of things that didn't add up after they brought this to his attention, including the two deaths of your brothers. I didn't know people could die twice, but that's cool. Those two deaths happening the way they did, the way they did right after the arrest really triggered Maury to find answers. Again, not making excuses, just trying to point out he believed his theory. The things he did to make his story work were wrong, but he did think that Berkowitz was aided in these crimes, as did most. Anyway.
Yeah, tracks historically speaking. Now, for the people that want to come in here and call anyone a shit researcher. So P. Thomas had left a comment. Wasn't it Tavistock Institutes? So this is a possessive. Abramson. That changed his mind to a guilty plea. David was at Kings County.
Mhm.
Yeah. He wasn't saying that David was in Tavistock. You guys get that, right? Do you guys understand what that means? There's
It's more,
plenty of information out here to corroborate that Abramson, however you pronounce it, that yes, he did work with Tavistock. It's not that hard, guys.
I got a really good laugh out of that one, though. No,
It
Rena, David
it
was
was
not at
embarrassing.
Tavistock, right?
It was embarrassing.
Most
Now, here's
people
something else that I'm
understand
going to show you guys that does tie into, sort of Tavistock, the things that we talked about earlier with Jim's process researcher. And this is something that I have not come on here and talked about yet, and we're not going to get real into it. However, Christopher Fripp, aka Father John Alban Abraham, his grandfather, Alfred Downing Fripp, who was a very famous surgeon. He was a surgeon to King Edward and King George. He actually founded the Ministry of Health. So when I say that this is literally the most elitist cult out there, it's the most elitist cult out there. Okay. But that was just a quick thing to touch on before we move forward to.
Well, before we move on, so Neo is saying again, you both are shit researchers. I mean, change it up a little, Neo, but Neo, Tell us about Van Duzer. Tell us about all your research into Van Duzer Street. Tell us
Please.
who was living there. Tell us about the children that were killed in that area.
Please.
Tell us about the multiple processians that lived, within. Yeah, all bullshit. Of course, it's because you didn't look into it, and you really don't have the wherewithal to look into these things.
Nope. Nope.
In between bong hits, I might add.
Well, it is what it is, guys. We're not going to sit here and, waste time acknowledging these two. Let them stay. Don't block them, please. The chat's on the screen for a reason. But we're going to continue to move forward because all these seemingly disparate parties and their seemingly disparate narratives it's really not so, bore out by the facts. And I'm not going to sit here and give a breath to people that say, "No, you're embarrassing. You don't know anything about the case. I don't need to look into people that have nothing to do with David Berkowitz." It's you guys don't understand the depths of this. And hey, I'm going to address the sticker thing right now since little Miss Raina is real hung up on it. And I'm going to be real honest with you, Raina. I'm just keeping it 100. Y'all are going to have to excuse my language. You're a fucking bitch. You're very rude. You've lied about me. And I know that Leash has lied about me on your show. I want nothing to do with you guys. I at least offer my stickers instead of asking people for donations, and my channel's not monetized. But I am definitely not going on y'all's show. I can tell you that right now. But let's go ahead and let's get into.
Can I just say one thing too?
Yeah,
Hiding. Am I hiding?
no.
I mean, why is it so important, like who I am and where I am?
I know where you are and I know what you look like. She a little snack, y'all. I'm gonna tell you that right now.
Both of these people have come in here in just a short time frame to, ask who I am and where I'm at. I mean, have I ever asked where you're at? Does it matter?
Nope.
But you do know that people with my same name in other cities are being harassed right now, which shows that actually you're the shit researcher.
Why didn't we get to see who was hiding behind the Dirk Diggler moniker? Why don't we
Well,
get to see Max's face on your streams? Just so you guys know, I call Max the hologram man. I only saw his photo recently because I didn't know that he was a real person. I know he's a very emotional character. But how come other people get to hide behind their little logo? Yeah.
Neo was in
Okay.
hiding for a long time. And where's my proof of what, Rena? I mean, I think we do need to be done. It's just stupid. It's
Yep,
really
it's
stupid. It's
exactly Soyolage.
junior
It's so they
high.
can dox and harass you. That's exactly what it's for.
And
And
you want Dana's viewership. That's why you want us on your show.
correct. Yeah, I'm not dumb. Trust me. Like I said, enjoy. Your what did they hit? Like 21. Good for you
21.
guys.
21
Golf
at the
clap
peak.
for everybody.
Five
Golf
five
clap
of
for
them were
everybody.
us.
Oh, and for Raina, last thing that I'm going to address. In my Wayback Machine, there are some of Ed's files. I have not been able to compress OCR and upload every single thing because it is a lot of files, but they're up there. I don't hold anything back. I'm certainly not holding it back for a book. If you took 5 seconds to click any of the links in my page in my description, you would know that. But if you guys don't think that any of this is related, why would you give a fuck about Ed Sanders' files, right? So you guys
True.
are the snakes playing all these spy games. But here is one of Neo's friends, Mr. Eric Galati.
Hmm. I didn't know that, and when you told me that, it's like, okay,
Well,
now it's
that's what
starting to
Eric
make
told me in
sense.
an email. That's what he told me. I have the email. You saw it.
Starting to make sense now. If you guys have not watched this video, and if you care anything about Jim, I mean, I would just say you'll be enraged. You really will be. I don't like that I'm cataloging these things. It is for a purpose. I would much rather be spending my time on other things. But I did go through and listen to that interview twice. It was quite infuriating. But here in this next slide, Manny says that these are the most in-depth interviews ever recorded. He obviously has not seen the wealth of interviews that are out there. And I'm not talking about Opperman. There are plenty of interviews out there of Jim. Many.
Excuse me, it's Flopperman here.
Oh, okay. Cy Opperman in my book.
Oh, okay, I like that one too.
Cy Opperman. We've all been blocked. And then he says, for the record, Jim knew that he was being recorded and consented to all of this. Okay. I mean, maybe there was some blanket announcement to Jim that he was going to be recorded every single time that Eric called him. I don't know. But it was, I didn't hear anyone ask. That's for sure. But I don't know. Should I talk about the tapes a little bit, or
You want to move on to the next slide, or do you want to just talk about the tapes?
totally up to you?
Let's see. All right, go ahead. Talk about the tapes a little bit. We'll go back to this.
Okay. Well, I mean, I did just want to say again, Jim is going to be 84 in January. He's had a lot of surgeries recently. He does have this situation where he can't breathe. I need to think of that. The name of his condition. He has a very specific condition, and the VA has blocked him from its bronchiolitis obliterans, diagnosed in 1992. He has periodic attacks where he can't breathe, and the VA has blocked him from receiving any care that is related to this ailment.
That's
So
ridiculous.
it's really messed up. But I'm just saying, if you have anyone in your life who's up in age, you're going to know that stresses like that can affect them in different ways. So if Jim wasn't sharp as a freaking tack and remembered like he does call Borelli, calls him Baresi, big deal. He calls him Baresi every single time. I mean, at least we know who he is talking about, but there really are just a couple of slips like that. And here Manny says that he was so embarrassed that he couldn't or decided not to release the tapes at that time because they were so embarrassing. But what I observed about these tapes is that there's a lot of information just corroborating the network, the criminal network. And Jim does say that he knew about the process in those years, like in the late 60s. Everyone knew about the process. Everyone was talking about the process. Everything is kind of wrapped into all of these networks, kind of wrapped in, or maybe overlapping is a better way to describe it, overlapping one another, whether you have the mob or you have the rings that trade young boys for prostitution and for killing. It's a real nasty mess, but it's was, I think, described pretty well. And let's see. But the parts that upset me is just that Eric is so dismissive. He cuts Jim off. It's like he wants what he wants and just shut up about anything else. So like if Jim was starting to describe a certain situation that happened, and by the way, he tells you the same things again and again. He recites this thing that, what's the fella's name? He went to the NYPD headquarters in New York City, and it was Paul DeLeese says this thing to him. He wrote something on a piece of paper. He lit it on fire. Once it cooled down in the ashtray, he like stamped out crumpled up the paper so that it couldn't be read. Like, that's how he communicated a certain detail. But if Jim talks about this, he recites it and he says exactly what was stated on the paper every single time, verbatim. So it's not like he has any problems with memory. But But I wanted to say, like, the times that I have talked to him, he pretty much he's going to go through the things that he wants to tell you, which are um, sorry, just trying to find kind of my little list of things that he always tells. He always tells me.
Well, and while you're finding that, I think that he was on Flopperman recently, and when he was asked a question that he couldn't remember
Mm,
or, answer something, he would just say, "I can't remember." It's my memory about that is fading. So he doesn't shy away from it or try to fill
mhm.
the air. It's the guy's getting up there in age.
That is true. He will say, "I remember the situation, but I don't remember the name," or "I remember the name, but I don't remember how he fit in." These are exact things that he said in these tapes. So yeah, he doesn't try to. Anyway, I find him to be very credible, and when I talk to him, we talk about these. I was telling you about the little group that I belong to. Oh no. Okay, Rothstein had zero to do with SOS. I mean, we are not saying that he had anything to do with the investigation into David, but all of the surrounding elements. I mean, if you think that you can make sense of SOS without including this criminal network, you're nuts.
Hold on. This is the last time that they're going to be acknowledged. I'm going to, again, because, they feel real ballsy coming in here and, sit. I mean, I don't want them blocked. Let them keep running their mouth. It's fine. That's all they do. However, I'm pretty sure that it was stated in the original stream that, like, Rothstein wasn't even working for the NYPD at the time of the Son of Sam investigation, right? And at any point in time during that,
Mhm,
again, I
mhm,
would encourage you to learn how to do research. Because how would they be in the exact same newspaper, right? How how is that possible? And here he is working on investigating what is known as the deuce, right? And I'll be talking about James Franco on
mm,
Wednesday with what things to do in Yonkers while you're dead. Uh,
mhm, mhm.
but let's just go ahead and let them keep running their mouths because that's that's all they're gonna. I mean, they're petulant children. It's fine. I am shocked that they came in here, but hey, guess who didn't have to ask to be unblocked?
Right.
Yeah? So take that to the bank, sit on them, and rotate. Reina, Neo, Paul, Agostino, Neo, yes, the one.
Mm.
I didn't have you guys blocked and then challenge you guys to a debate. And now you guys are coming in here throwing a hissy fit. Go back to your little meatball layers and do whatever you're going to do and leave the adults be. Thank you very much. So let's go ahead and let's get into the next slide so we can keep moving and grooving because they've
Well,
wasted enough of our time.
let me say though, it is part of what's in the discussions on the tapes is that Jim met Maury, right?
Mhm.
Um, Jim gave Maury kind of a list of people and wanted Jim wanted, which I didn't really understand this until it was discussed. Jim wanted verification from David because he knew he had gotten information from Ace Brown, for one, and others. Let's not forget that Ace Brown had DeFrenza living with him. DeFrenza came home with David's mail when he was arrested. Anyway, there's a lot of just a whole lot of overlap. Anyway, Jim wanted verification from David. He knew that David knew some of these people. He got Maury to ask him. David verified the names. They showed him photographs. Anyway, um,
I would also like to point out that Ace Brown knew Dean Coral.
hmm,
Yeah. So let's all keep that in mind. Because people think that like we're out here weaving tall tales and
mhm,
making connections to these networks that
mhm,
don't exist, right?
mhm.
Which is why I mean we'll talk about the file stuff, but are you ready to go to this next slide, this screenshot?
Um, yes, yeah,
All right.
that's
Let's go ahead and let's rip it cuz we're making good progress, but I want to save my thoughts about the files until the end.
Yeah, so Manny releases this video. It's got all these conversations. Clearly, there are areas there that should have been edited out, and where Jim says that he doesn't want this known to the public. And Eric's like, oh, yeah, that wasn't done. They were released. So Eric, comments under the video. Actually, you'd have to look at the second, look at the next slide and then come. Yeah. So he writes to Manny and says, blah, blah, blah. I'm glad you released these telephone conversations, but you need to edit out these pieces. And so Manny's very first reply to him is the one above. This alleged $1 million line of credit is most likely another fabrication by the alcoholic and known blowhard. Where did he get the alcoholic part? And known blowhard, Jim Rothstein. I will not remove anything from this video, especially at your suggestion. I'm allowing you to comment here, and I won't block you, Eric, but you should internalize the fact that I think you're scum for what you did to me, and you don't have the right to tell me to do anything. Enjoy the videos and tell your investigator she can call my complaint line. The number is 1-800-EAT-SHIT. So I don't know how long that stayed, but then you see the next iteration of the reply.
It's very edited.
Yeah, very
And then
toned
the next
down.
one is even more edited.
Well,
Look at that.
3 short
Isn't that
sentences.
amazing? Before I forget, because, there are claims made about Jim like that, right? Let me find the letter. Remember that letter that I found about Rothstein? Let me
Yeah.
find it really quick. And I'm not going to read through the whole thing, guys. And this is something that I will post the link on where I found it. But let me see.
While you're I just want to mention this really quick. One part that really bothered me is that, but it's interesting. So at some point, Eric realizes that Kevin Murphy has the wiretap conversation with Ace Brown, and he wants it. Eric wants it. And it's just really weird because in that same timing, somehow Kevin Murphy was brought into the Facebook group, and was he being groomed then to try? Because Eric keeps saying to Jim, can you just get him to trust me, Jim? I just want the tape, and I'll give him back the tape. I'm not going to keep it. Can you just get him to trust me, Jim? And every time he calls back after he learns about this tape, he's saying, hey, did you make any progress with, it's like a couple of days later, well, did you make any progress? And Jim is like, no, dude, he's not doing very well. I haven't talked to him in a couple of weeks. Anyway, it's embarrassing.
It is. Now, this is a letter that I found, and again, I'll post the forum that I found it on, but I just took this comment, copy and pasted it. This was posted in 2013, and this is to kind of highlight that there are still individuals within law enforcement that are still attempting to discredit James Jimmy Boots Rothstein, the Honorable Mayor. And you're going to see how long this letter is and what this individual had to say. Again, not going to sit here and read through the whole thing. This is just an independent corroboration and something that I had randomly found. So right here to Bob Gwymond from James P. Viken, PhD, psychologist emeritus, Detective James Rothstein, retired NYPD. And it says, I understand that a certain Deputy Sheriff Weiss told you that the Stearns County Sheriff's Department, which he represents, has not found Rothstein to be a very reliable source of information in the past, and encouraged you to check into what he has told you about himself to see if he is trustworthy and you can believe him. I am going to help you out with some background information, things that I know of firsthand. So here he discusses he's a retired psychologist. He's been a resident of Minnesota all of his life. He has a clean record. Do I have to go to the next page? And here he discusses during his time practicing that there were a lot of victims of compromised and corrupt law enforcement. And he was referred to Rothstein specifically. And he details a lot of very fascinating information about Rothstein's career, about what other people thought about Rothstein, that he was a man of his word, that he was a man of morals, and that he was someone who put his neck on the line to get things done. Okay, so this idea of a blowhard, alcoholic, goon, fool, anything of the sort, this is just a blatant lie and a smear campaign. Okay, that's all that it is. And again, I don't think that these things would be done unless, where there's smoke, there's fire, right? I mean, that's how I feel about it.
He's been involved in some very high profile missing children cases. I was just looking at Jacob Wetterling. Well, that was the murder of a boy in 1989 from St. Joseph, Minnesota. But Johnny Gosh, I mean, when you watch the Johnny Gosh documentary, who's there with Noreen Gosh? It's Jim, of course.
Yeah.
He is a stand-up guy.
He is. He absolutely is. All right, let's get on to this is from the chat during the premiere of the tapes, right?
Oh, yep.
Okay.
Yeah, so I just wanted to look at this one. Manny's commenting to John, Berkey was so bribed, he said whatever more he wanted to hear. And I just wanted to point out that Manny is obsessed with the coloring books and crayons. I don't know how many times I've heard about these coloring books and crayons. He's obsessed. I've been hearing about it for more than a year now. Almost every other episode, coloring books and crayons. And I just want to say, like,
guys, Marista, the wig-wearing chain smoker, non-Christian fool, not good friend. We got sold out for a typewriter and a box of crayons. Yeah.
And I just wanted to say, boy, that was some bribe. I mean, David essentially had Maury sending coloring books and crayons to missions all around the world. He told me one that he had things sent to in Africa, one that was in upstate New York. There was another one in Texas. I mean, yeah, boy, that was some bribe for David.
Yeah.
Oh, but the chances of Berkey knowing Shelley Bloom is 0. Why? Okay, Shelley Bloom is one of the dudes that ran the Sanctuary, which was famous gay bar in New York City. Why wouldn't David have met Shelley Bloom, or why couldn't he have? I mean, when you look, and I want to say this about the files. And by the way, I didn't always have these files of Maury's. I mean, I just got them recently, and I didn't get them from Eric, so at least I know I've got a more complete copy. But when you look at the typewritten pages, this is another thing that Manny's always mocking, is the typewritten pages. The typewritten pages are the ones that were distributed to all the law enforcement and reporters, and others. It was a kind of a large group of people. The typewritten pages are the ones that were distributed to the entire research group. You know, just like we have our little research group, everything was distributed so that everybody was on the same page. But in there, you can see that, and I was shocked to find how often the group, David and these other people, were frequenting the hardcore gay scene, the hardcore gay bars. Sorry.
Yeah. I mean,
So
it
why wouldn't
tracks
you?
for the times.
Hey, Jim Harwood. I just wanted to say hi to Jim. Jim, I should have said hello to you a long time ago. Every time I see your comments, I am like at attention. It's
Yeah,
always got something really
Jim
cool.
Harwood is based AF.
Yeah. Rock on. There are no benches in the woods in Untermeyer or Van Cortlandt, but there are benches all through the Brambles. So I mean, the Brambles. The Brambles is a real secluded, real overgrown area. Well, it's like a nature preserve, and when you're in Central Park, it's vast. I mean, you could be in there and nobody's going to hear you.
So wait, you're saying that there are what?
And I'm not so sure that there are not. So I don't know about benches per se, but I do believe that I have found something in Van Cortlandt Park where you can sit down if you want to. That was stupid.
And this is the file that was given to the gardener, correct?
Yeah, so back in, pretty sure end of 2021, yeah, Manny was given a small packet of materials from Jim, and this is just 2 pages out of. He had them on the screen, so I did screenshot at the time, and I've had these screenshots all that time. But anyway, these 2 copies, I mean, you can go and look at them more closely later if you want to, but just verifies that there are at least 3 people in this scenario all telling the same story, and they don't know each other. They're not getting together and corroborating their stories. They're telling the same story from, opposite ends of the state or the. I don't know where Tiny was exactly. I forget where Tiny was.
Yeah,
You
I
probably
forget
know,
too because
right?
those tapes weren't there, but let's move on.
Yeah. Oh, and these, just to prove. So these are from the end of 2021, I believe August or at least September of 2021, just to prove that Manny was already very anti-Rothstein at that time. And yet in the tapes, Eric is saying, but Jim, we're going to honor you. This is all for your honor. We're going to, I mean, he's really buttering him up, but this is proof yeah, not the intention. Manny was talking mad shit about Rothstein already. This is the end of 2021.
Yeah, a lot. It's I mean, even the stuff about like Bruce Ritter, I mean, these things are very easily verifiable. That's why when, you told me about Boots and I started looking into him, I'm like, damn, I want to buy this old man a beer. He sounds
Mhm.
thugged out. So seeing this smear campaign date all the way back, because this is stuff that Parker sent me, I wasn't around at this time. And look, I don't disagree with Manny's observation here. Shocking to some, I know. About, Gunderson being thought of as a disinformation agent. I think that there's a very long you know, I would say it would be very polarizing conversation about that, but I don't view Rothstein the same. I just don't. It's not bore out by the facts. And again, he's someone who's revered and respected within his community, and he's respected by victims, and that matters.
Yeah. Very much so.
And this is from, I'm assuming, one of his old Twitter accounts that wasn't banned.
These, I believe, are from.
Or X, whatever.
I.
It looks like X.
It does. Yeah, this one does look like Twitter, and then the one above it is Subscribestar. The 2 above it actually are Subscribestar, and that one is X.
All right. So now this one was the one that caught my eye.
Mm-hmm. So, okay, so Craig is shown here. I think this was under Mike Codella's Manny video. I'm telling you, I love comment sections. You can learn a whole lot. But anyway, Craig had gone back and forth. If you're interested in what Craig has to say about Neo, Eric, and Manny, you need to go over there and read it. Anyway, I worked with Manny for a few months, but I never promoted his exonerations of Taco, CFLA, the process, Scientology, et cetera, et cetera. Manny stopped working with me because I called out Galati as a Nazi sympathizer and Neo as a gatekeeper for the mob. I agree.
Hot take, mic drop. Continue.
And then this, I don't know who this person is, but hey, they left some dynamite comments as well. The first moment I actually put a pin in listening to Manny was on the episode where they were talking about the Gemini Lounge and I believe Roy DeMeo. I am seriously quoting him verbatim here. He had the audacity to say New York was better when the mob ran it. It struck me because it was my first clue into how off kilter he is. Of course, he has conveniently erased the record of saying such insane things. So evidently they must have been one of the many pieces of content he created. He can't stand behind as part of a supposed process of arriving at conclusions going in a completely other direction. As early as April 2021, he was already posting on the Zodiac. So that's Horan's website.
Mhm.
Professor Dad is already posting on that blog his suspicions about Terry. And that's true. Manny likes to say like he was pro Maury. That's BS, man. He was already like right away. We've got the screenshots to prove it, but here's another person who knows. By April 27, 2021, he wrote, I'm being a pain in the ass with my taking down of Maury a notch. By April 28, 2021, he was writing, I am getting sick of flack for discounting the process. I'm totally cool to receive criticism. That's true. He was saying that. I do think the North Dakota info was good, but California, Manson, Metzer, all pure fairy tales, in my opinion. Anyway, he defends his work by claiming that he started out as a huge Maury Terry believer in the ultimate evil, but that's just really not the case.
Yeah, I would say it just doesn't really track with anything.
But you pointed out Roy DeMeo, and I'm just
Oh,
saying,
can I pull
yeah,
that up?
anybody go look at Roy
All right,
DeMeo. It's like,
let me stop sharing this for a second. So, I know that they are no longer in the chat. I wasn't prepared for this, so bear with me. I had posted something on my Twitter, and a good friend of mine reached out and they said, "Man, Roy DeMeo really looks like the sketch from
mm,
the Voskerichian shooting."
mhm,
And so I put them side by side and kind of presented it to the group. And I said, y'all tell me that that don't look like him. And it absolutely does. The interesting thing that this person continued to point out was that Roy DeMeo was also a made man of the same year
mm,
after he was made after the Voskerichian shooting. And I don't think that it is a stretch to
mhm,
consider the meatball angle here, because let's all not pretend that these guys were snitches and they were all snitching on everybody. And DeMeo was taken out in 1983. I'm going to show you guys the little thing that prompted it. It was just a little collage that I had put together, more so criticizing the Carter administration in general, because I have very strong feelings about Jimmy Carter. But let's just take a quick peek. That way you guys know what I'm talking about, because I didn't put in the stuff about the sketch in here. I just showed that's what they pulled up. So, right here, this is from November 18th, 2024. So, that's DeMeo.
mm.
That looks just like the Voskerichian shooting. He's a made man after Voskerichian dies. Just something to consider,
Yeah.
especially down here when we're looking at his quote unquote assassination. He's a soldier in the Carlo Gambino organized crime family. And right here it says, although he had no criminal record, investigators say he was believed to have had a criminal career centered in Brooklyn that included involvement in auto theft rings, the sale and distribution of child pornography, weapons smuggling, and usury. And he was directly tied into, I'm going to talk about it eventually, the International Children's Appeal, or ICA. This was a super sus nonprofit that the mafia was hustling their disgusting pedophile pederast wares. And, you know, they were in bed with the UN and UNICEF at that time. I mean, this was kind of a big deal, and a lot of people died because of it. A lot of people got taken out. So it is just something to consider. But let me pull back up this last slide so we
I
can
mean,
finish.
since you mentioned the UN, when Jim talks about this note that was burned he was there with Paul, I forget the last name, Delise, Paul Delise. Paul Delise writes this note about Ben Rose providing young boys to the UN
I mean,
and then lights it on fire. And anyway, it just
how
reminded
many
me of
times
that.
do we got to hear these things, right? I think that that's interesting. I think that that angle of the ICA, it's like, is that how they were doing it? Because hey, guess what? That also tracks with an NGO, right? With a nonprofit,
Mm.
especially one that they bamboozled the Carters into getting involved with. But this is our last slide, so there we go. Oh, wait, is that no, that's not it. Hold on. This is it. Sorry. There we go.
It's the last one.
Yep.
Yeah, talking about de Grimston. So this fella sounds like he knows some things. Anyway, called de Grimston's phone dozens of times with different numbers. His daughter would pick up and tell me I have the wrong number. Son of a bitch never spoke to me once. I wouldn't expect them to, actually.
Mm-mm.
He left Staten Island years ago and lives in Florida now. Previous owner of Florida home was a 33rd degree Mason that passed away. Cult guys always stick together, I guess. They do. And then he comments again. Did you know that one of the Staten Island kids disappeared off Tyson Street, less than a block from de Grimston's home? Neo, what do you know about Tyson Street?
They don't know anything about it. They're going to ask what that has to do with David Berkowitz.
And then he comments again. Andre Rand lived at 90 Vreeland Street. 3 of the kids vanished from Richmond Terrace and Park Avenue, 4 blocks away. De Grimston's address at the time was 60 Taylor Street, right? Rand's apartment to de Grimston's home was a 10-minute walk, and the abduction site in between. De Grimston did not move to 130 Tyson until 1995, according to property records.
Yep.
People know things.
Yep, they sure do.
And you're
That
not
is
going to
the damn
stop it.
truth.
You're not going to like shut people up. You can't shut everybody up. You can't discredit everybody. I mean, you can try.
You can try. You can absolutely try. Because, I mean, then that brings in the stuff about Cropsey, right? This brings in all these other different, seemingly disparate, uninvolved things, depending on who you ask. But we keep seeing the same parties over and over again, working so hard to discredit, certain parties along the way. And, I'm not going to pull up the screenshots because I don't even have them ready. It is what it is, but they were in the chat and we do have the screenshots. The formerly what it was titled as was the May Brussels Project, whatever, that whole like archive. They are allegedly getting Rothstein's files and doing the same thing that they did with May Brussels stuff. You guys know how I feel about May Brussels. Not going to go there. However, all of these same people, we see what happened with Maury's files. No one can give an answer as to what universities declined accepting Maury's files when I've shown you guys that Princeton, an elitist college, took Ed's barn files that smell like a barn, that have like bug poop stains on the files. They took them. No one can give a good explanation, which in my personal opinion shows just straight obfuscation of his research files. Is this going to be the same thing that happens to Rothstein?
You have to wonder.
That's what I think is going to happen. I'm going to state my opinion. I'm allowed to have it. I think that is what's going to happen to Rothstein, because these are the same people in the background that claim that they don't know each other, that claim that they're not friends, somehow getting involved, somehow, and I'm not going to name any names, however, somehow blocking communication between people that had a good or solid relationship prior to all of this. I get that Parker and I are not in the cool club. We're not turtle enough for the turtle club. I don't really give a damn because I don't have an agenda, and I don't believe that Parker has an agenda besides the truth. So I'm going to go ahead and call it now because it is how I feel. And if I'm wrong, feel free to come back and rip me a new one. I have a feeling that the same thing that happened to Maury's files is about to happen to Rothstein's files.
Yeah.
And the new archivist that's taking over, you don't need a fancy scanner, a fancy printer. You don't need any of that. What did I do? I drove up to Princeton 2 times, and I'll be going back again next year with my cell phone and took pictures. And then uploaded them, figured out how to OCR them so that they were searchable, compressed the files. Very time consuming. However, it is possible. So all of this rigmarole and the demonization of Parker, because I have really strong feelings about it, You know, I don't expect anybody to have the feelings that I have because Parker is my girl, but, you know, I see people villainize her, and I'm sorry, I mean, I show a fraction of the things that I know, and it's to protect people's identities, to protect their information. But the people that want to sit here and trash her, these are the same people that are turning around and lying to some of the individuals that we've talked about tonight to sabotage that relationship because they don't want this information to be public. They want the information to be hidden from you. And I would ask everybody why. It's been how many fucking decades since all of this has happened? Why? How many documentaries are coming out? How many more books are coming out? Criticize my stickers. I don't give a fuck. Seriously. Get over it. I understand that you're not creative and you're also not funny. That's not really my problem. Also, people requested them if you paid attention, right? But I understand that that's difficult for you guys to grasp. But we know that this is all the propaganda machine being fed, and everybody's going to sit there slack-jawed waiting for the next one. But that's just my opinion, and I do think that the three individuals and the meatballs that showed up in the chat, well, you know, these are friends in low places. With friends like these, who needs enemies?
Do another live soon. We had a damn good time.
Oh, my face hurt so hard from laughing. So hard. Hold on. Do you have anything else that you want to add?
I do just want to say to people in the chat, I'm so sorry I haven't been watching, but I really love you guys. I mean, I do, of course, like I said, I read comments, so I know all of you, and I really appreciate you. It's nice to see you here. I appreciate it. Not feeling on necessarily tonight, but thank you. Thank you for staying, and thank you for being who you all are.
I didn't feel on either. I don't know if the moon is in Gatorade or something. One more thing that I would like to leave off or remind people of since they're still here. Don't forget, Jim Jones was running the Branch Davidian compound in Waco. That's who you should take your information from, is people who don't realize that this is factually inaccurate, right? I might make that a sticker just because it's so dang funny. Just a
Yes.
big one and slap it on the back of my truck with another meatball next to it. Yeah, another little meatball next to it. But guys, I'm going to go ahead and leave you here for now. I hope that you guys enjoyed it. Wednesday, we have the intense review of James Franco's Son of Sam series. And yeah, I'll talk to you guys soon. Any questions you have, leave them in the comment section because, like Parker said, she always comes here and watches and reads. Okay.
Thank you,
Have a good
guys.
night, guys.